Back. Sorry, a technical issue before, but I'm back. I was really busy before, but I'm back. It's all good with this guy. Okay.
Worthless. Then in the next section of the game, the characters don't really know what to do, and one of the major themes of the game reveals itself being that Kratos is an overprotective father, and despite being the god of war, he doesn't want war, which actually doesn't make any sense.
Well, people can't change. Kratos had seen it past, and learned that fighting isn't always the answer.
Given what we saw at the beginning of the game when Kratos refuses Odin's offering of peace. Seriously, somebody explain this. He doesn't want war, yet he refused peace.
It wasn't peace. Odin was lying.
You can't have it both ways. And so he doesn't trust Atreus off on his own because, yeah, he's only a teenager. But Atreus sneaks off anyway to go try and make peace with Freya. And this whole plotline's fucking stupid. They killed her son. There's no fucking way Freya would ever team up with Kratos, but eventually they do convince her way later. But for now, of course...
Because there's a bigger issue than her still being mad.
She refuses, and she almost kills Atreus, and I was absolutely rooting for her at this part. Do it. Kill him. Do it.
Why do you want Freya to kill a child? What's wrong with you, man?
But no, she lets him go. And funny enough, I actually forgot what happened in the next couple hours.
Okay, here it is. I also completely forgot about this asshole. He's a completely worth it character voiced by an Isoleb Prozed. Never heard of him. But, why is he an asshole? What's wrong with him? Explain yourself. I think he's a great character. He's very funny. He's not too integral to the story, but he's incredibly interesting and funny.
Hours of gameplay, I had to review my footage because I literally forgot why the crew then goes to Alfheim. It turns out it was to seek wisdom from Groa, the Keeper of Knowledge. And eventually, after fighting your way through the now Light Elf-dominated landscape, and guess what? The Light Elves are bad too! Everyone's a bad guy in war, who would have thought?
No, it's morally gray. There's no clear good guy or bad guy.
Are the developers trying to tell me that Ukraine aren't the universal good guys who are gonna save the world and defeat those evil fascists and...
What the fuck are you talking about? Why are you talking about Ukraine and Russia?
Russia? I'm surprised that somebody hasn't tried to cancel Sony Santa Monica for this. After fighting your way to the end of the level, the gang discovers that the prophecy that Groa told Odin was a lie, and that Ragnarok would not be the end of all things, but only Asgard specifically. And Atreus now believes that he will be the champion that leads all these armies. Kratos obviously does not like the idea of this, again, now that he's a cartoonishly overprotective father.
Well, he doesn't want he's overprotective because he doesn't want his son to die, and that has caused him to go overboard. What's wrong with that? I mean, what's wrong with the concept of that? Obviously, overprotection is bad.
And so the writers decided we don't have enough forced melodrama yet, so we get a kind of bizarre moment.
But what if Loki going to Ironwood is the only way that...
Oh, Atreus. My son. And nothing more. Do you hear me?
I'm not hungry anymore.
Go to your room. No dinner.
My words were chosen carelessly.
You should take his bow, too. Take his bow. He's
What's wrong with this scene? It built up in the past, if you were paying attention, of course. It built up in the past where Trace is always talking about war and it leads up to this, and Kratos has an outburst.
He's grounded. Am I the only one who thinks Sindri is like a groomer or a pedophile or something? Every single time Atreus is by himself, Sindri
They're friends. Why do you have to make everything about sex? Jesus Christ.
is also there as like a creepy, tiny old man,
You're a creepy tiny old man. What the fuck?
encouraging all the strange whims that Atreus has against his father. Kind of reminds me of certain Discord communities. And so now Atreus starts thinking of Ironwood, which earlier Jormungandr told him about. And he is transported into a magical pocket dimension. First, he starts...
It's not pocket dimension. It's just, the land of the giants. It's I forget the name of it.
seeing visions of the worst moment from the last game, where as a small child, he kills Thor's son in cold blood. It still pisses me off to this day that Kratos didn't beat his son immediately after that.
Why would he? What about his past would make you think he would do that?
I could probably make a video just about the emasculation of Kratos in this game, but we'll get into that more later. So now that he's been shown the worst parts of himself, he wakes up inside of Ironwood, this magical forest being protected by giant magic, and he meets our token black character for this game. Angrboda is a completely fucking pointless character. She does nothing of relevance in the plot except give Loki a...
That's not even true. She saves everyone at the end of the story. I don't know how she... I don't know how she was not useful to the plot.
A bag of marbles. You cannot tell me with a straight face that this character wasn't added just for the sake of diversity. You know it was.
I know she... Well, I would like to talk to developers and see if she was, but I don't think she was. I mean, clearly, clearly the land of the giants is different from every other realm. And it's more sunny, it's a more, like, where you would see black people. Because Angrboda is black.
Why, of all cultures, of all mythologies, would Northern Europe, possibly the whitest place on Earth, have black characters?
Yeah, but she lives in a different realm, and this realm is clearly sunny, and more like a desert place, or really sunny.
Well, it doesn't
I don't know what it's really like. It's forest, and it had, like, desert places. I don't know.
matter because I'm a bigot for asking. I'm a racist for even noticing in the first place. And I couldn't even tell you the real answer if I wanted to, because I'd be banned from YouTube. And it doesn't help that all of her dialogue sounds like modern dialect.
Usually not so lively around here.
Guess I'm just lucky.
You're just lucky.
It's like if a Redditor was transported back to ancient Scandinavia.
I mean, okay, if you want to believe that.
Yeah. And Angrboda is not the only character that speaks in Newspeak. Mimir does it a lot as well, and it is...
All the character does, there's nothing wrong with it. Speak, relatively normally. For our age, not their age.
incredibly distracting.
See? Hati's got nothing to chase.
When they say celestial theft is a victimless crime.
Not totally sure who.
What? That combined with all the quips completely removes any tension from any scene in the game. Characters cannot shut the fuck up.
Don't just stand there. Move.
I look.
It's still in the way.
Stop telling me what the fuck to do. She's literally getting me killed.
No, that was your fault. You just stood there and let yourself get hit, you stupid idiot.
And it doesn't help that this is the worst part of the game by far. It's 2 straight fucking hours of not just Atreus' brain-dead gameplay, but walking in a straight line, listening to a worthless character talk about things that don't...
Again, you're not going to explain yourself. Why is she worthless? She's not worthless. She adds relevant to the story. She helps she helps Atreus grow as a person. She has incredibly worthwhile.
Don't matter. And worst of all, it ends with you fighting Angraboda's giant grandma, who is stealing the souls of the animals in the forest because life is pointless? This shit comes out of fucking nowhere, and it only exists to give Angraboda a purpose in the story.
She already has a purpose. Whatever.
Anybody telling you this game is fucking mature, just take one look at this boss battle and tell me with a straight face that this game is fucking mature. This is some baby game shit. This is Kingdom Hearts level. Ooh, the giant voodoo black woman throws magic out of her pot at you, and you've got to shoot the symbol to stop.
What's wrong with a giant woman? What's wrong with the giant? Explained in the story. There are giants. They're big. Not all of them are, but explained that they can use magic. What's wrong with that? Is it just her race? Why'd you bring up her race?
Stop her. And there's nothing about this that is God of War. You don't kill her at the end. You don't even, like, maim her in some way.
Why would Atreus maim her? What's the point? You're stupid.
No, there's just some weird message about how Angraboda will always be in Atreus' shadow. Just a minor character in his story. Kinda based. This is
What? It doesn't make any sense.
simultaneously both hilarious and extremely cringe. If you didn't cringe at this, you are woke beyond any recovery. There is no hope for you. This is awful.
Woke beyond any recovery. What does that even mean? Why would you cringe at this? This is Angraboda learning to grow. We help the world because Angraboda's grandmother is trying to, well, it's kind of killing a whole bunch of animals.
It's awful, and you know it. And you just can't admit it because you don't want to be called racist. It's that simple.
What? No.
No, you don't.
No, the Mary Maxine is this. He says, "Oh, this is the very next scene." By the way, it's not. Angraboda and Atreus have a talk, and then Atreus tried to cheer her up, and then he turns into a wolf, and they have a race.
What a tonal whiplash after that emotional scene.
No, this motherfucker doesn't pay attention to anything. He's stupid.
Faster! We got it
It's like we're not allowed to feel sad for more than 2 seconds. Then this horrific section of the game ends with Angraboda making Atreus promise her that he would tell nobody about this place.
It happened earlier. Whatever, who fucking cares? Maybe since you're writing a game review, you should care?
Not even his father. What purpose does this serve through the story? Nothing but more emotional conflict. What would have happened if Kratos was told about Ironwood? Nothing.
Yes, perhaps Tyr would have heard who is really Odin. Or any number of things. You don't know. Why tell him? What's the point? You're trying to keep a promise.
In fact, it would be a net positive for the story, because then we wouldn't get more fucking waste of time, shitty, emotional bait cutscene bullshit.
War Thunder,
Ad.
the military online action game, has received this year's first major update. The branch of unique South African vehicles.
So Atreus wakes up inside his house on Midgard instead of back at Sindri's place, but Kratos quickly finds him and confronts him where he's been. Atreus dodges the question and implies that Kratos needs protecting, not him. Are they completely retconning the end of the first game? We already saw the prophecy where Kratos dies during
Correction, Atreus never saw it. So why did you keep this in the fucking section?
Ragnarok. That was literally the last thing that
None
happened.
of this,
at the
all of this is no longer valid. Take it the fuck out.
end of the first game. Well, suddenly a Valkyrie shows up, and it's a pretty good boss battle, but it turns out it was Freya, as Freya is the real queen of the Valkyries, not Sigrun.
You learned that in the first game. It's like you don't fucking pay attention to anything you're told.
It wasn't enough that she's a super powerful mage who could revive a massive giant.
No, she take control of it with her roots, but what's wrong with her being a massive powerful mage? She's like a couple hundred years old. She learned a bunch of shit.
She's also a combat expert on par with Kratos, as she nearly kills him despite the fact we win.
She held off Odin's army to a standstill. She is very powerful. What's wrong with that?
In the boss battle, we effectively lose. Kratos nearly gets killed by Odin's crackhead ex-wife.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Why do you just hate women? That's what you do. You hate women.
You can't make this shit up. Fuck this feminist bullshit, dude. I'm so tired of this. Everyone complained about that purple hair chick from The Last Jedi, yet I haven't heard a fucking
These are not the same things.
peep about Freya, and it's just as bad. Actually, in some ways, it's kind of worse because she's way more present in the story from this point forward. But instead of killing Kratos, she decides to set a temporary truce as the two work together to break the curse that prevents her from traveling between the realms. So you travel to Vanaheim, which is like the jungle realm, I guess. And there you meet the Diversity Squad Avengers. And none...
What? For one, it's a white guy, white girl, 2 elves. And a dog. What? For one, most of them is white, and I don't... What?
None of them, except Freya's brother, get any kind of development whatsoever. I really have no idea why they even exist. Maybe they're the writer's self-insert character.
Oh, and the black guy, but I don't consider him black because I don't know what he really looks like because he's a shapeshifter and he could have been born completely differently, so I don't count him as black because I don't know his actual true form. Maybe, let's just say that's a true form. He's black. Does one black person equal diversity squad? I don't know. No, it doesn't.
Characters, but it was certainly distracting. Another major issue with this level is that throughout the entire thing, Kratos tries to convince Freya that he's not her enemy, and he's...
I appreciate the God of War Ghost of Sparta reference, at least. Well, at least you acknowledge that exists.
sorry for what he did, and she needs to move on. And he also tells her about his own family that he was tricked into killing. I've already explained how this would never happen, and it's pretty clear.
Yes, it would, because Kratos has an invested interest in Freya, and she barely knows about him. So learning about him would help endear him to her.
That the only reason it does happen is because the writers didn't want Kratos to kill their strong female character. But
No! Kratos doesn't want to kill her! She helped its son. And that would be, if you knew Kratos, that would be incredibly meaningful to him.
what makes it worse is that throughout the entire thing, Kratos is constantly apologizing and capitulating to everything Freya is saying, and he admits he basically wouldn't even defend himself against her if she tried to kill him again.
No! Look how he's standing. Look how he has an axe. He says he won't let her kill him. So make a choice. That's what he basically says.
Because he could bear to kill his friend. How
What the fuck is wrong with you? Why would you want to kill your friend?
the fuck is this Kratos, dude? This is such character assassination.
Why would Why would Kratos hack off Freya's leg? Are you fucking crazy? There's something wrong with you,
And
man.
you can't convince me for even a second. This is the same person that was in the original games. Does anyone remember the time that Kratos crushed a woman under a fucking lever?
Yes, and you wonder how fucking crazy Kratos is sometimes.
To hold the door open? A completely innocent woman.
Lord Kratos! Do not leave me!
Honestly, just making Kratos a mature, wise old man was a horrible idea in the first place. There's no way they could ever pull it off in a realistic way.
Why? They did it really well, in a believable way. Kratos had learned from the past, sees violence doesn't fix what he wanted to fix, so he fell in love and founded her from path.
Way. So anyway, you fight your way through, you make your way to the World Tree of Roots, and Neithhog, the guardian of Yggdrasil, shows up, and you just straight up kill her. Are there any lasting consequences of killing the guardian of the World Tree? Of course not. And
Yes, there is! There's a whole side story where her children go off and threaten to eat the realms, and Ratatoskr had to now raise her babies.
I'm not gonna count a side quest where you have to find her children.
See, what the fuck is wrong with you? What? Why? You make me angry.
Because it's completely optional. Now Freya is
Oh, they would do bad things in the future, not now.
free to wander the realms in her human form, and we get a scene straight out of a soap opera when she reunites with her brother, pushing the message.
What message? What message would that be? You should reconcile with estranged loved ones? I guess. If that's the message, I guess so.
Me on fire. How did you expect me to react?
Like my brother! Like the boy that used to have my back no matter what! And who I always supported no matter how selfish his choices.
You just want he overlaid a video of Kratos killing Poseidon. You just want to kill things, don't you? You just like killing things. That's all you like doing.
I expected you to come and find me. And no matter how hurt or angry,
Why do you just want to kill things? What the fuck is wrong with you? I thought you were gonna pay attention to the story.
Freya, please.
I hate every character. If it was possible to hate every character, I think I hate every character.
You sad, strange little man. You really are.
God damn, I'm getting sick of this shit. Alright, I'm gonna try and wrap this up as quickly as possible. Once they return to Sindri's place, Kratos finally confronts his son in another infuriating scene.
The truth is, you're being a complete asshole. Laddie, you know that's no way to change a man's mind. He doesn't have any faith in me. It's fine if he keeps
Just
secrets.
slap your
It's fine if
son.
Mom
Just
did.
fucking
What?
slap him.
Why do you want to hurt Atreus? What would be the point of beating Atreus? That would be incredibly counterintuitive, especially right now.
Bam.
Her secret's hot to be stuck at this time.
Oh, okay.
The pussy ass writers. Like, do you know how many dads would fucking bitch slap their sons if they
And that would make them bad dads. And I hope you don't become a father, because Jesus Christ.
spoke
Wonder
to him
where I
right
learned
there?
that.
So then, Atreus, being a spoiled brat teenage boy, does exactly what his dad doesn't want him to do and goes to see.
How? Correction, he tried to find Freya again first. I mean, yeah, but, How would that spoil it? He's afraid that Kratos is gonna die, so he does what he can to try and protect Kratos. If that means going to Odin, that means going to Odin. That's incredibly interesting.
See Odin, but first we need to climb this massive wall to get inside. Well, it's just another generic linear section with no hard battles whatsoever. Very lame compared to traversing through Pandora's Temple in God of War 1.
Oh, they're not even comparable. That's like 90% of the game. And the wall is not even 1%. They're not comparable.
Name one example of the many cool things Kratos did. And once he makes it to the top, we finally meet Heimdall, probably the only based character in the game.
Think you could pull me up?
I do like Heimdall.
No, I don't think I will.
He's an asshole.
I am profoundly unimpressed. I suppose I should expect nothing less from half-breeds. Don't call me.
Yeah, making fun of people for the race. It's so cool, you guys. It's so cool, really.
And what are you going to do exactly? Well, you toddlers are boring. Oh, no. You are going to spare me out of pity. You do not get to decide my fate!
What an absolute Sigma male. And once again, our expectations are subverted, as Asgard is just a generic Viking village straight out of Skyrim.
What would be the point of making Asgard with golden towers and stuff? Even in the game, I believe if you asked Odin, he would say, "What's the point? Why would I do that?"
Honestly, I wasn't even surprised anymore at this point. But just compare Mount Olympus to this shit. After Heimdall makes a mockery of Atreus in an unwinnable boss fight, Odin takes Atreus under his tutelage anyway, and gives him a quest to find all the
Well, he takes him under a tutelage because he wants information from Atreus.
pieces of this mask that will allow him to see into this realm tear that somehow might have all the secrets to the universe or something. Guess what? We never get to see what's in it.
Of course, because that's not the point. The point, it's a MacGuffin, okay? It's not meant. I mean, sorry, my brain is exploding. How would you express through visuals all knowledge? How would you display that? And it's not even and you don't have to see inside to know. Atreus at the end learns that all knowledge isn't worth the cost. So why would you even see inside?
Even more pointless subversion. All this does is blue ball.
I'm getting something to drink. I'm getting something to drink. Okay. I am back. I'm better than ever.
All the player. I mean, really? You set up this huge thing that the villain's trying to accomplish, and we don't even know if it's actually important or not. And
It is. Odin went in there and saw truth and knowledge. That's what he said when he went in there.
In this entire segment, Atreus is emasculated by multiple characters.
It's fucking Thor. Emasculated. What? Who's supposed to? Atreus is. Thor is stronger than Atreus. You can't. What?
Characters, not just Thor, who's obviously much bigger and stronger, but
So yeah, what the fucking point?
Thor's daughter Thrud also is bigger and stronger than him.
And?
Sif, even
What's wrong with that?
though she does literally nothing, is also much bigger than him. So Atreus just
She is a grown woman, and Atreus is like 13. Of course she's taller than him. What the fuck?
looks small and weak. And I think they were trying to go for sort of a Peter Parker underdog type of thing, but I just don't like Atreus at all, and this made him feel even more
You went in not liking this game. You don't like anything about this game from the get up. From the get up.
pathetic. So as Atreus and Thor team up to find one of the mask pieces, Atreus slips away and finds Angrboda again, and they watch a prophecy which tells them of
So she is important to the story.
Surtur and his waifu, who are both giants, and they combine to become Ragnarok, which is pretty obvious foreshadowing for later. Shortly afterward, Thor and Atreus find the mask, and we're back to playing as Kratos again, and he finally takes agency in the plot, the only time this entire game that he makes a decision.
That's not even true. Every decision they make where to go is a it's Kratos's. In the war, it's always Kratos' decision. And there's a part in the war where Kratos said to Freya, "No, we have to do this now. Protect the civilians."
For himself to go seek out the Norns, who are the fates of the Norse dimension. After fighting your way through quite a lot of enemies on Midgard, Kratos and Freya ride on a Kelpie to the bottom of some lake and find the Norns, who are also very cringe characters.
Okay, this is really subjective.
The ghost of Sparta furrows his brow menacingly. He resists the urge to grunt. Oh, he fails.
And they tell us that fate is not real. People do have free choice, they just very rarely make a decision that they can't predict. This might be the only metaphor in this story that I actually agree with. But this quest was not.
No, the thing that they tell Kratos is that people are predictable because of their nature. And to change your fate, you have to change your nature.
For nothing, as Kratos does learn that Heimdall plans to kill his son. And so to kill Heimdall, he's going to have to forge a new weapon in Svartalfheim, an infinitely duplicating spear. And even though I think the weapon's awesome, the actual quest to get it was incredibly lame. This felt like padding once again. You don't even fight a cool boss in Svartalfheim. All you do is make your way to some lake, give the mermaid the ring, and she makes the weapon. That's literally it. Yet another missed opportunity from this game to do something really cool. For all the parallels to Marvel movies that you're about to see in a second, I'm surprised they didn't just rip off of Infinity War here and make something over the top. Then
I don't get the connection. Is that the only movie you know?
Kratos and Odin have a verbal confrontation. Once again, the old Kratos would never talk to Zeus. He would just try and kill him as soon as...
And then Atreus would die. That's the setup for this talk. And clearly, what, people can't change? Jesus fucking Christ.
he saw him. And this scene was just painful to watch. I feel like the game can't decide whether or not Kratos wants war. He refused peace at the beginning of the game.
No, he refused Odin peace, which wasn't real peace.
Yet we're constantly told he wants to avoid bloodshed, doesn't want to kill anybody except Odin, which is pretty much impossible. That's just stupid and naive to believe that would even happen. Not to mention, Odin straight up calls him a cuck in this scene, dude.
A boy of ours.
He's everything I expected. So clever, kind. You sure he's yours?
And the writers.
What? Actually, how's that a cuck? How is raising another man's son, obviously, Atreus is Kratos' son. But, Odin was just joking. But, what if Atreus really wasn't Kratos' son? That would actually be a Chad move. Because, for one, it's not yours, it's somebody else's, so raising it would be incredibly... Never mind.
Obviously didn't play the old games. I know they did their research on some of these stories, or a different writer entirely wrote the stories while you're riding on the sled or in the boats.
Why do you think this?
But they clearly forgot that in God of War 2, Kratos did have worshippers.
But he doesn't consider that real worship. Kratos, that worship was conditional.
Spartans worshipped him while he was a god, and yet he says nothing here, acting like Odin was correct.
What do you even know of godhood? In your lifetimes, has anyone ever worshipped you?
And yet more evidence that the writers emasculated Kratos. He never tries to kill Odin here.
Of course, because Odin says, hey, I have Atreus. If I don't come back, Atreus will die. So why would he try and kill Odin? Jesus
If it wasn't
Christ.
out of rage, which it would be, if he killed Odin, the plot would be over and he would win. I'm not saying he should win here, but he should at least try to kill Odin. He should just fucking stand there and get roasted and say nothing in return. Come the fuck on. And then when he returns to Sindri's place again, he cries. Yes, Kratos pretty much cries. I don't think we see a tear leave his eyes, but come on, look at this.
He's frustrated and doesn't know what to do. He wishes Faye was here to help him decide what to do. And, Atreus is in a different realm. He doesn't know if he's dead. He's at its lowest point.
And then he has a vision of his wife. This is actually the second vision. I didn't name the previous one, because honestly, none of the three visions matter at all. They're completely pointless.
No, we learn a lot of information in them.
There's only one purpose they serve to the story. Kratos settled. The ultimate Giga Chad settled.
She is... that's subjective, I guess. You don't like the way her looks, I guess. I'm not particularly attracted to either, but I wouldn't say he settled because, well, looks are subjective.
Prove me wrong. You can't. Now we play as Atreus again, and he makes his way to Helheim to find the next piece. And spoilers, the piece isn't there, and no, they don't explain it either. Someone told me that Atreus was lying, but if he was lying, why would the mask be glowing when he's going in the supposed right direction?
Because in the story, the mask says it follows Atreus's, it knows what Atreus wants to do. And Garm is here in pain, and Atreus wants to help Garm. So the mask is leading...
He seemed rather confused when it wasn't there, and freeing Garm, the giant wolf there, which can tear through dimensions, that seemed to be unintentional, so how could it be a lie? Let's be honest, it's just more contrived bullshit. So Heimdall, fittingly, shits all over him for fucking everything up.
Yeah, just calling him awful for its race. That's fitting. That's good.
So Atreus runs home to Daddy, and honestly, him hugging his dad is one of the only decent moments of the story, so I won't shit on it. So it's up to Kratos and Atreus to team up to imprison Garm once again. You get a pretty cool boss battle, and then at the end, our expectations are unsubverted. As it turns out, Atreus trapped Fenrir's soul, and now releases it into Garm, who now becomes Fenrir, right? So now there's a
Fenrir.
giant heckin'
It's
Pufferino.
Fenrir.
How very cute. Then we get a scene where Kratos finally accepts his son is a big boy and can take care of himself. At first I was annoyed with this scene because Atreus was coming across as pretty condescending to his father, but obviously that wasn't really the intention of the writing here. So while it was somewhat sloppily handled, and I really don't like the message of be better, especially the implications in the story that you should never kill your enemies, right?
That's not the message. The message is you should be better than you were before. What's wrong with that? Jesus Christ.
All your enemies can be forgiven, even though this is not something anybody actually follows in real life. Try and find a leftist who doesn't think a conservative is a Nazi. Good fucking luck.
Do you only see in political views? Why are you always talking about politics? Jesus Christ.
And they're certainly not looking to forgive him anytime soon, but once again, at least I felt something here. It's obvious that this version of Kratos is very lonely and doesn't want to let go of his son. But Atreus is a big boy now, even though I think he's only 13, so...
Well, no, Kratos had to learn that he can let his son make his own choices.
he's really not that much of a big boy. This is one of many moments in the story that you can tell a lot of elements of this game were rushed, and it was clearly supposed to be a trilogy. We're getting major story development points all crammed into this massive 25-hour experience that a lot of elements feel underdeveloped. Like, remember in the beginning of the story when Atreus was supposed to learn to control his emotions so he could utilize his animal forms? Yeah, well, that only really comes up right at the end of the game, and he...
No, he's handled it before. It's just that you didn't control the bear.
He just kind of does it. But once again, I'm stretching out this review far beyond what it ever needed to be in the first place, so let's get back to it. So when we return to Sindri's house, yet again, the gang decides we're not going to kill Heimdall after all, and instead we're going to try and help the people of Vanaheim who are being attacked by Odin's forces. So we once again return there, and once we arrive at Freyr's camp, we find out that the boar that you kill in the beginning of the first game didn't die and is in fact a random black guy.
Why are you all talking about race and politics? No, this game had none of that. Or it doesn't focus on it. You fucking weirdo.
I'm not making this shit up. What is the point of this character? Someone tell me why this character exists.
Because he's an interesting character. Maybe you were to fucking pay attention.
You can't. So
Play War Thunder now. Join millions of players across the globe in massive battles on tanks.
So, after meeting some more heckin' pupperinos and gaining the ability to manipulate the sun and moon, we encounter Heimdall once again. And even though I said earlier it's probably my favorite boss fight in the game, it is kind of dumb when you think about it. His ability is to read people's minds, right? So
No, he reads what you're thinking in that moment.
The trick of the boss is you have to use the spear and detonate it on the ground to be able to hit him. But if he can read your mind, why doesn't he know when you're about to detonate the spears and simply just jump out of the way of the ones on the ground?
He doesn't know which ones are gonna blow up.
Maybe because he has to meet you directly in the eyes, and so he can't also watch the spears on the ground.
Okay, that's a really good reason too.
If that's the case, why can't you use any other method of ranged attack to hit him? Like maybe when you call the axe back to you, it hits him in the back.
Because when you call it back, he can look in your
The
eyes.
head or something. In any case, eventually you do kill him, and it's very unsatisfying. I was hoping Kratos would crush his skull into the dust. Kind of like how he pulverized her...
He does lose control. But it's an incredibly meaningful scene because Heimdall said monster because he looks in Kratos' eyes, and Heimdall said monster as he's dying. I'm imagining Kratos is saying, I'm not a monster, I'm not a monster.
Hercules' face in God of War 3, but no, they pussy out on any kind of disturbing gore.
I mean, Heimdall loses a fucking arm. Jesus Christ.
So the gang meets up with the Discount Avengers squad, and they escape on a flying...
I don't even know this shit anymore. Why the fuck do you say this shit?
unfortunately, they're attacked by wyverns, and so Broken Sword Guy, I think his name was Hamburger or something,
Very funny.
sacrifices himself, and they build it up to be this really epic moment, like, oh my god, I can't believe that guy sacrificed himself. Who was he again? And so we once again return to Sindri's house, and luckily Heimdall had Gallarhorn in his hands,
Heimdall always had Galahorn.
which allows you to open portals to all the realms at once. I guarantee all of us predicted what the climax of the story would be.
Is that the only battle you know? You always talk about how everything is the Avengers. And that's the only example you have.
They told us what this thing did. And so, this is where another very stupid moment happens in the story. Atreus, for some reason that is not explained in the least, decides he wants to help Odin again complete the mask.
Because they want to get the mask, and before Odin does.
Because maybe the secrets of the universe will help you find a way out so that you don't have to kill him. I thought we all agreed we were gonna kill him now. Why are we suddenly doubting this? Why would you help the villain complete his quest?
Because it serves them to help Odin.
And you know what's even funnier about this is who's in the room right now with them. If you know
Is this a bad
you know
thing?
what I'm talking about.
Why are you
It
so
really brings
upset
some
about
dramatic
this?
irony to this scene on the second watch. And so Atreus journeys to Asgard again, and we soon find out that Thor is a depressed alcoholic who knows his daughter and wife are disappointed
And this is incredibly meaningful. I'm
in him,
kind of
and
done
he
at
just
this
wants
point.
his daddy's love. God, this fucking sucks.
It doesn't, really. Here. Thor is really feeling it right now because he doesn't know what to do. And he feels pushed in so many different ways. So he drinks to numb the pain. And then but when Thrud finds him, he's incredibly ashamed of it. What's wrong with that?
And they try and make it entertaining by having a bar fight scene, but guess what? It just takes away some of your combat mechanics. That's the opposite of fun. You should give me special
Subjective.
mechanics just for this encounter. Anyway, Atreus and Thor make their way to Niflheim. You get the mask without anything really special happening in this realm. And then Odin shows up, but so does Sif and a couple Valkyries, and Sif manages to convince Thor to try and kill Atreus.
Sif doesn't convince him. Thor is just upset, and he can't throw it at his father, so he throws it at Atreus.
Since Kratos killed Heimdall, but he uses his get-out-of-jail-free card that Sindri conveniently thought to give him before he returned to Asgard again, and now the good guys have the mask. Except one problem. Brock, of all characters, notices that Tyr is calling Atreus Loki.
Of course, Brock notices. He's the most observant character out of all of them.
And so it turns out Tyr was Odin the whole time, and he kills Brock. But Kratos manages to get the mask out of his hands just in time, so it was completely pointless? Well, I guess not completely, but I don't care about Brock at all, I'll be honest. Once again, the writers are trying to build this up as a huge emotional moment, but if you don't like any of the characters, this scene's gonna completely fall flat.
You don't like anything about this game going in.
And it gets even worse when you realize, because Odin didn't get the mask, the game is now dragged out for another 3 hours. And to be honest, the game is now dragged out for another 3 hours.
In fact, I cut 30 minutes out section where Kratos and Atreus fuck off in the Midgard, while Sindri becomes consumed with rage. It's a complete waste of time. Yeah, another out-of-character moment for Kratos. Kratos doesn't want to seek revenge again. The initial reaction is, wait, go kill Odin, right? But he doesn't want to be that person anymore. So he needs to get away from everything. Then he realizes that you can't run away from your problems. That the whole section is, and and that they had to seek their friends. So they go see a Sindri first.
Hours. And to be honest, even those 3 hours feel really rushed, because in the final act of the game, the heroes decide they need to build up their armies across all the realms. So that sounds like a huge epic quest on its own, right? Could probably be the plot of its own.
How many armies do you think there are? There's only 2 armies. The elves and the realm of the dead.
Game, and might have been originally. But instead, Kratos and Atreus just make their way to Muspelheim again, meet Surtur, and he's once again another depressed character who doesn't want to help, specifically because he knows both him and his wife would die, but it turns out that Kratos can use the Blades of Chaos to enhance his powers instead, which actually does have consequences, so I'll give the writers a bit of credit for that. And so while Kratos and Atreus fight off 2 Valkyries at the same time, Surtur becomes Ragnarok, but it seems he's not quite ready to start the siege.
No, he's ready. He just needs to blow the horn. That signals Ragnarok. You stupid.
So Kratos and Atreus return to Midgard, and all of the allies gather and spend one last night in a little camp outside of the Yggdrasil portal room from the first game. Atreus, who I once again remind you is a teenage boy, requests to sleep with his daddy one last...
Again, thinks everyone's gonna die. He thinks he's gonna die tomorrow. So he wants to spend a night with his father.
Time, and we are given the final flashback or vision of Faye, Kratos' wife, and it's a completely pointless scene. And then the next morning, right before the final battle, Kratos and Freya give a rousing speech, probably the worst I've ever seen. I mean, holy shit, there's so much wrong with this scene, I don't even know where to begin. Whether it's the bad cinematography or the incredibly bland room that the actual speech is set in, to the writing, which is not inspiring in the least.
I can hide no longer. I do not want this war. We have suffered enough.
Why couldn't
But just
Kratos
fucking cut the rest of it out. What the fuck?
give this speech after he blows Gjallarhorn, and
Because they had to fight after they blow the horn.
Jormungandr and Fenrir are in the background or something.
It's Fenrir.
Like a wide shot of all the armies or some shit. You know, something like Lord of the Rings. Something that feels epic. Man, this is just lame. You can't tell me Sony Santa Monica looked at this and thought, yeah, this is fine, this is cool, this will get the players amped up for the finale. And so anyway, he blows the horn, they travel to Asgard, and we get our huge Avengers Endgame moment.
Again,
and all of our
only
buddies from
movie,
the two
you know.
games show up and wage war against Asgard. And it's supposed to be a really cool moment, but honestly, it's not. I know people are going to say I fucking hate everything, especially since I'm sure plenty of people played this, thought this was cool. But none of this crazy...
You do hate everything about this game, it seems like. You know, and you get plenty wrong because you just don't listen.
Crazy epic background stuff that's happening affects the gameplay outside of some random wyverns raining fire on the arenas. If you just ignore the skybox, this might as well just be a normal level of the game, except that
This is just the same combat you get in the game. What's wrong with that?
just throw a slightly wider variety of enemies against you. It doesn't help that multiple times during the goddamn apocalypse, the characters stop to have a heart-to-heart
I thought you wanted this to happen. I thought you wanted them to talk during the war. You're stupid.
with each other. Are you fucking kidding me?
Make
You've
up your
taken all the
fucking
tension out of the
mind.
story so many times.
Do you pay attention
Not
to
mention
what you
have to
say?
play as Atreus again, and he gets to go full bear mode, guys. He's upgraded from a wolf to a bear. He's climbed another tier on the gay scale.
What does that even mean?
And then
Are-
immediately he
are wolves
took
scared
no
of bears?
jutsus threwed out of killing him, blaming Odin for everything, and it works. And so all the good guys team up. Kratos finally has his second showdown against Thor. After beating him, he actually manages to convince him not to fight anymore for the sake of their children. This is God of War.
Okay, if you don't care, I hope you don't have children. okay? Because you clearly won't give a fuck about him.
This game series is known for letting you kill gods. That's like one of the main points of playing these games. Again, the power fantasy, but whatever, Kratos is a changed man.
He is! What the fuck?
He's super mature now, guys. And of course, as soon as Thor agrees to lay down his arms, Odin stabs him in the back, literally.
Oh my... Stabs him in the back. My memory... Stabs him in the back. My memory is shit because he stabbed him in the front. You fucking retarded, weird little man.
Kills him. And so now we have our final boss battle with Kratos, Atreus, and Freya.
I can say that because I'm retarded.
All teaming
I
up
claimed that word.
to lay waste to him. And it's an absolute button mash fest. All I did was spam runic attacks the entire time. It did surprisingly well, beat him in one try. It really feels like a step down from every other final boss in the series. Even the fight against Baldur felt more epic than this, because there's really no
That's
sense of
subjective.
scale. You're just fighting him in a basement, and he shoots magic spells at you. Oh, and somehow I almost forgot, at the end of the first phase against Odin, Freya gives the cringiest line in the game.
She had been subjugated by him for who knows how long. Possibly hundreds of years. What the fuck is wrong with you? And it's cost her. He was able to escape because she had taken too long.
Game.
You have no hold on me anymore.
Wow. So brave.
How good you
Stunning and fucking brave, dude. Not woke at all, guys.
What?
Not woke at all.
Oh, husband.
Your political mind fucks your brain up.
Now I'm going to teach
You think you see everything through politics.
everything. Bow to your queen.
Really? My god, this comes across as some kind of feminist torture fantasy. What the fuck? And of course, when you finally beat him, instead of killing him, Kratos lets his son decide, and he decides to trap Odin's soul inside of one of the giant marbles. But then, like an absolute Chad, Sindri comes in and smashes the marble.
That's what comes next.
I take back everything I said about him being a possible pedophile.
What?
As soon as his brother dies,
You're
he actually
fucking weird,
becomes
man.
the only other based character in the game. And so the heroes have won, except there's one problem. Because Surtur didn't fuse with his waifu, Ragnarok is out of control, but the heroes managed to escape off screen.
What the
and
fuck is wrong with you? Why'd you just lie? Angerboda. What? This man is.
Game ends with you traveling to the top of some mountain, where Atreus tells his father that he needs to go off on his own quest with Angrboda to go find the rest of the giants. And in the only other touching moment in the game, Kratos finally lets go of his son and allows him to be his own man. And I really have nothing to complain about here. I think this part was actually well done. And then immediately afterward, we find out there was a secret second prophecy that Kratos was to become the new revered god of the Norse realms, effectively tying him to this place, meaning this is the end of his story. And thank God for that. I don't want to see Sony butcher Kratos anymore.
Whatever,
But I
you can
absolutely
believe
promise
what-
you, I will not buy a God of War game starring
You will
Atreus.
if-
So they better either reboot this shit or just let it die. The sad thing is,
This is the best-selling game of the series. What the fuck?
you get to play the post game immediately after this, and there's a bunch of other side quests. There's all those berserker super bosses to fight. And when I played a few more hours, I actually was having fun consistently. You know why? Because I could actually do what I want. I could actually engage in the gameplay and fight enemies and just ignore the ambient background dialogue because it really didn't matter.
That's what you did the whole time. Just ignored everything, all the dialogue.
Without having to deal with forced walking sequences or countless cutscenes or stupid emotional bait or any of the other
Yeah,
bullshit
bait.
that
That's
is in
what it
modern
is.
Sony games. Just wandering around the realms, even though it was areas I'd already been to. was more fun than the actual goddamn story mode. The linear
Whatever.
story was less interesting than wandering around the world
Hey,
doing side quests.
you
do
learned how to
fuck
play
up
the
this
game.
bad? But the game's totally 10 out of 10, guys. If you just ignore all the constant cutscenes and walking simulator moments and fake loading screens and shitty Atreus gameplay segments, it's totally 10 out of 10. Game of the year 2022, no doubt.
Ad.
Opera GX.
Yo, Vienna, what are you up to, dude? How's it hanging, brother?
I want Freddy Fazbear.
I'm not going to name any names here because I don't exist to just start drama with random other YouTubers, but there are people who are supposedly real film critics, people who actually analyze stories in their structure, who are ignoring all of the obvious flaws with this game. If this was a film, these people would be ripping it to shreds, but because it's a video game, they
Why
have
not
no
say them?
standards. How did we go from a Greek tragedy, which, yeah, had a lot of juvenile moments, it was definitely intended for edgy teenage boys to a degree, but that's not to say the original games had no depth. There's a
It's very little, comparatively.
video called God of War Was Always Deep, You Cowards. Great title, by the way, by Endless Jest that covers this
See,
subject
you don't like anybody. Which,
pretty extensively, so I'll just direct you to that video instead of extending this one even further. To now this infantile, pseudo-mature Marvel movie for man-children. People who refuse to actually grow up.
you
and
criticize
have
for everything being Marvel, but the only thing you have to reference is Marvel.
responsibilities. That being getting a wife and having children, right? Being an anti-natalist does not make you mature. It just makes you a depressed nihilist like
What the fuck are... Stop abortion and... What the fuck? Why are we talking about abortion? Stop abortion at the source. Viscosity are reversible, make every young man have one. What the fuck? What? Why the fuck are we talking about this shit?
like everyone else. And this is not me acting holier than thou. I have never pretended
No,
to
you're
be
just being retarded.
Sure. I know what I like. I like the super edgy shit. I like Darksiders. I like the original God of War games. I even like fucking Shadow the Hedgehog. It's a bad game, but I like how over the top it is, given it's a fucking cartoon character with guns. It's you people who are pretending that this is some super deep shit. That
I
has
mean, it is deep.
the issue.
You're stupid.
The Last of Us 1 actually was somewhat deep to a degree. It was a very well told story, even though it was a story we'd already heard dozens of times by now, right?
Well,
This is not well handled in the least. The writing team is highly incompetent, and in no small part because Anthony Birch wrote for it. A man who is a literal Mamma Mia, and whose wife divorced him and took his Wii U. And he's done plenty of other pathetic things in his time. But if you
I don't know anything about that.
Mamma Mia write for God of War, what the fuck is wrong with you, Sony? You are fucking dead to me. And I know I've already said that multiple times, but they are so dead to me at this point, dude. I'm only playing these games to review them, that's it. Certainly not for my own enjoyment. Now, all of that being said, is this a bad game? No, it's not. And only
Really?
because the gameplay is good. The
You're
combat
so
designers
fucking
did their job.
flip-floppy.
In fact, they're the only people on this team worth their salt. They actually made this dumpster fire fun, at least for the 20% of the time that you're actually fighting things. The other 80% was either incredibly boring or insulting to both my intelligence and my masculinity. And I think that was the intention.
You're not
I've
a
said it
man.
once and I'll say it again. Games are not made for gamers anymore. And they're slowly trying to not make them for men anymore either. At least not catering to men's tastes. They're trying to make games, quote unquote, for everyone. There is no such thing. You cannot make a good game that also appeals to everybody. You just can't. You can make a mediocre game that does that, and many exist. But a good game caters to a specific audience. And unfortunately, they do not want the God of War audience. Fuck this game, and fuck all the Sony fanboys who think it's a masterpiece. That word has now lost all meaning. I hate to say it, but Elden Ring is probably Game of the Year this year, despite having one of the most critical videos up.
Like, subscribe, and comment to keep your sanity.